Hello and welcome to the madness that is me predicting the Battlebots 2022. I don't know. It was at some point. Yeah, me predicting the tournament. So I'm too lazy to edit the PDF. So instead, I just put the entire thing in the challenge, just because I know how to do that slightly better. I will first start this off by saying I think Scorpius beats Malice because Scorpius strong, and Scorpios can push. Doesn't need to worry about the ground game, which I think is kind of a weak spot for Scorpius, because it wheelies a lot. So Scorpius versus ground game heavy robot hasn't seemed to be super good, but yeah. And then I do believe that Hydra beats Defender, just because I think Hydra probably has the better ground game, and even if Hydra kind of misses this step, like Hydra versus Endgame, Hydra can win the ground game 3 times and then lose it on the 4th, and then the match is over. I don't think Defender has that knockout power. So, first we'll start at the top. Ground game focused robot, I think will keel Scorpius. So, I'm going to give that to Endgame. Minotaur versus Bloodsport, this one's a toss-up, but I have not gone and studied film. This is just an off-the-cuff, make-the-thing video. I don't know if Minotaur is going to be quick enough to be really on Bloodsport, so I'm thinking Bloodsport's going to just knock the supports silly on a Minotaur. Although this is not something that I would put much. If I was to put money on this, I wouldn't put much to the favor of Bloodsport. Copperhead and Lucky, I think this is very much a Copperhead match. No offense to Lucky. I'm also just a huge Robert Cowan fan, and he, just with how entertaining he is, I want him to win. So my head's like, oh yes, these are reasons why I should go. So I think all the weight over the front forks. Maybe, I don't know if they're going to put magnets on it, but that would make it tough for Lucky, and I believe that they finally have it dialed in, so I think Copperhead's got this one. Glitch and Witch Doctor. I think that Glitch has got it. I mean, Glitch, unless Witch Doctor does some ground game stuff that I don't know about, then Glitch obviously wins that. I think Glitch has comparable weapon, and I think they have better armor for shrugging off non-ground game hits. So any like reach verts, I don't think are gonna do much to the front end of Glitch. So I'm gonna say that Glitch wins this fight. I could be very wrong though. Could be putting a lot of faith in Rookie Bot. Sawblaze and Jinx, I'm gonna say Sawblaze. It has the drive, I think, to keep Hijinks from spinning up. It also, like, Kraken had the speed, but just wasn't staying on it, I think, as much as they need to. And Sawblaze has the damage output to take out Hijinks, in my opinion. So that's what I'm thinking. Hypershock in P1 is going to be an interesting one. I haven't thought this one out much. I'm not gonna lie, I want P1 to win just because Brandon Zielinski and his fantastic Beetleweight and now his Featherweight Star Child just make me happy, so I want P1 to win. Although I think in my head, not my heart, Hypershock's got it. Uppercut and Huge will be an interesting match. I think as much as I can't say I necessarily want it, and I actually have it predicted differently for my behind the bots prediction, thinking about it now, I think that Huge has got it. I just think Huge is gonna be able to hit juicier stuff, and I think they're gonna be able to. Shockingly, I think Huge is more mobile than Uppercut, so I think that'll come down to it. Shatter and Riptide, I'm going to say Riptide, as I'm also not very confident in this decision, but I think that Riptide just has a really, really nasty weapon. And I think they can get enough hits on Shatter to maybe knock them very complicated wheels silly. So Hydra, as I explained why I think Hydra gets into the tournament, I would say I think Hydra beats Ribot. If Ribot goes with the horizontal, then I think Hydra wins with the with that plow that it had from last year. Although I don't know if they could do some shenaniganry of not showing off the configuration on Ribot. Although I think they have to commit to that pretty early on in the setup phase. If they go with the vert, that's a little bit scarier. But I think the little fingerling forks on Hydra will be enough for them to score the win there. Mad Catter and Black Dragon up next. I would say I think Mad Catter. I think it might have the better weapon. I think it might have the better drive. It's hard to say. Black Dragon I think is more robust, but I haven't been necessarily impressed with their front armor designs, so that is kind of why I'm gonna go with Mad Catter. Also, Martin Mason, super entertaining. Blip and Valkyrie, this is tough because I haven't seen Blip versus a horizontal. Valkyrie hasn't shown off much this season just because of the fights that it's had. As much as I hate to say it, I think Valkyrie's gonna get it done. No, actually, yeah, it's hard because it depends on if Valkyrie keeps spinning. So I'm going to assume Valkyrie might be more reliable than last season. But in that P1 fight, I think they lost the weapon. So Blip's got the same armor as Tantrum basically. So yeah, Blip. I guess this one is very hard to say. Jackpot and Tombstone, I don't think is as hard to say. Although Jackpot has been quite strong this year, I don't know if they have a front wedge setup strong enough to take out Tombstone. They didn't have one to take Rotator, really, in my opinion, but yeah. I don't want to talk about this just because it makes me sad. Whiplash, a very good robot, very well driven robot that I don't necessarily like the fighting style of. It's just going to kill one of my favorite robots mercilessly. Cobalt and Yeti. If this was the Yeti of the past where they didn't focus on the ground game, they just charged at it with a weapon, then I would be a lot more confident in my pick for Cobalt, but I'm not sure. I know Cobalt's a lot more dialed in than it has the last couple fights. Yeti's, if this was the first fight Yeti, which got killed by Mad Catter, then it'd be an obvious Cobalt, but it's gonna be close. I still think Cobalt will take it in the end. I'm hoping to see Yeti do twice the amount of barrel rolls that it did in the Mad Catter fight. Rotator and Captain Shred. I think Victor Soto is just going to back into Captain Shred Raider repeatedly and end up winning off of that. Tantrum and Gigabyte is very interesting. I feel like Gigabyte hasn't been dishing out the biggest hits. Like, they've not been bad by any sense of the word, but like, it's been a little bit less scary. So I think I'm gonna say Tantrum. I think it'll take the shots, and then if they can get Gigabyte stuck, it'll get some nice punches. And if you can get under Gigabyte and get to that little soft inner robot, I think that might be toast and lights out for Gigabyte. So that's the first round done. Moving up to the top. Bloodsport beat Endgame once, but I do not think they're gonna do it again. That first fight was a little bit fluky last year. I mean, every fight is kind of fluky in Battlebots, but this time I think it's not going to be great. Copperhead and Glitch. This one's kind of a toss-up for me, but I'm going to say I think, could just be favoritism, I think Copperhead. Copperhead is just not taken much damage except for lucky shots and electrical failures. So I think, hoping they still have it dialed in, and hopefully they don't take any damage from lucky. I think they're going to be coming in real fresh, and I think that they could take the hits and survive long enough to just chip away at those very fragile wheels and fragile wiring. I don't know if the wiring's fragile, but the very complex wiring of Glitch. Sawblaze and Hypershock, honestly, any robot which isn't like crazy weapon focused, like if your robot's drive focused, then I think you're gonna get outdriven, and you're not gonna be able to gun hard enough for Sawblaze to make it work, unless you get a lucky shot. But I ain't accounting for lucky shots with this fight. I think Sawblaze is gonna take it. Huge versus Riptide. We're doing this again, and I think that Huge, they're gonna go with a different strategy for Riptide. Like, you can't just do the same thing. I know there was potential controversy from the first fight, but I think Riptide has the chance of taking it again. This might just be that I want them to win again, because although Huge is cool, I've never been a giant fan, but that's probably just because of the years past. I'm liking it more and more every time I see it fight. But Riptide just is fun. Hydra Mad Catter, I don't think Mad Catter is going to win the driving game. And I think Mad Catter will only survive a couple of times falling from the ceiling, just because it's been a little bit since I've seen it in a really slugfest fight, but like, it doesn't seem to be the best for the ground game. So I'm going to give this one to Hydra. Also, might just be favoritism. Could you, challenge, could you please not be useless? But we're going to start on Blip versus Tombstone. If Blip survives Valkyrie, and if they have enough time to repair that configuration, I don't think Tombstone can last a couple flips just with how wonky it's been this year. I just because of what will happen in the next round, I'm just gonna say Blip. I don't know if I believe it, but also I think with enough driving practice, Blip, the Aaron, can get the robot over there fast enough to stop Tombstone from really spinning up, and I think he could tank a couple hits. Plus, again, like, I can't say no to having Blip and Hydra face each other, so maybe it's a meme. Whiplash and Cobalt, I think that Whiplash is just too good in the ground game, too controlling, driven too well. I think Whiplash is going to take that match. Rotator and Tantrum, I think, is the next fight. A similar thing to Blip and Tombstone. Rotator, I don't think there's anything on Tantrum that's as fragile as, say, Kraken was. Tantrum's a beefy little brick, so it might just be a little bit of favoritism, but I'm going to give this one to Tantrum. The more I say that, the more backlash I might get for that. Okay, Endgame and Copperhead. I think this is where Copperhead kind of loses it. It's tough. I'm just not sure if it's tough enough to take out Endgame. Not gonna lie, I want it to, just because I don't like Endgame forks, but that's just me and my terrible opinion. So I want it to, but I do not see it. Copperhead going into the semis. Sawblaze and Riptide. I don't think Riptide has drive that is strong enough to compete with Sawblaze. I don't see anyone outgunning Sawblaze without masterful ground game or insane weapon power. And Deep Six isn't here, so Alright, Hydra and Blip. Tough. Kind of tough. I think flipping wise they're close enough to equal power to not give a real advantage to one or the other. Hydra, I don't know if it has the drive to be able to get off of Blip's flipper the same way that like Lockjaw was able to. But I would say I think Hydra's got the ground game, and it doesn't wheelie when it turns. Probably not as quick as Blip, but I don't see Hydra getting flipped very much in this match, where I think Blip is going to spend a lot of time in the air, so I will have to give this one to Hydra. Whiplash and Tantrum. That's a tough one. I think Tantrum, very well driven. I don't know if the new team's going to be able to get up to par with Matty Vasquez, who's just... I feel like all he does in his spare time is drive Whiplash, because that's just how well it's driven. I feel like Whiplash is probably going to take this one, and it's going to lead to a very big rematch. So, it's kind of sad. I think both of the Seems Reasonable robots are going out here, but two very deep runs ended by two very competent robots. Semifinals, Endgame Sawblaze. I do not see this one going even close to the same way it happened last time. Honestly, I think it's whoever... I think Sawblaze can take 2 or 3 hits before I think it's toast. Sawblaze could also dish out a hit that hits something very luckily. I don't think Endgame has the greatest top armor, although I've never been within a couple 100 miles of it, so what do I know? But I do have to think that Endgame is going to go all the way. And with Hydra and Whiplash, based on what happened last year, and how this year's been going, I can't say that I see it going any better than last time. Although this is not necessarily what I want, this is what I think, and I think we're ending the same way we did last year. I think Whiplash needs to win way more exchanges to win this fight. Endgame only needs a couple of good shots, although Endgame has not had the greatest self-rider, but it hasn't been tested that often, so we will see. I don't know what they have for this year, but I see Endgame winning the Battlebots 2021/22 season. That's been my predictions. Hope to see you in the midst of the madness again, or hopefully next time it's less time and more entertainment.